I started this journey over the summer, as far as wanting to kind of unravel different patterns. I'm totally obsessed with patterns, and so I have been trying to figure out my own patterns as far as why I do the things that I do and why I attract the people that I attract in my life, and how do I pinpoint the beginning of that unravel and fixing that link. And so I started out this summer, and I have been revisiting people from my past and revisiting situations that I never really felt like I had closure from. And so I decided to give myself closure and revisit situations that I feel like I just kind of walked away from. And I think sometimes in life we do that, where we kind of go, oh, well, that's a mess and that's kind of icky and gross, and I don't really want to address those feelings. So I'm just going to like leave that there, and I'm going to go over here and deal with something else. And we do that a lot with things in life. And so I decided I'm going to go back and I'm going to go look at that, and I'm going to pick it up and look at it and see what it is and put it in its place and where it belongs, and really confront my emotions and how I feel about things, and really put things away. And mostly it started with why I date the men that I date. I mean, we all know that we date, little girls grow up to date their daddies. But I have a different archetype of man that I date. And all of us, there's 3 girls. There's 4 of us girls. But 3 of us grew up together. And all 3 of us date different archetypes. But we all came from the same person. And so I was curious as to why that was. Why do we all date, different archetypes of men when we all came from the same father? And it's not that we're picking up different attributes of the same man. We're not. Clearly, it's that we imprinted differently on different people in our lives. And so I wanted to know why I date the people that I date. And coming back and revisiting my father, I really realized there's a huge piece of my dad that I definitely, there's that archetype is very much a part of the men that I date. They're definitely emotionally unavailable. They're very narcissistic, borderline sociopath. And they love on a very conditional level. And so it was interesting, and I kind of wanted to figure out where that came from, and the different relationships that I had, and really unravel it and figure it out. And so I did revisit a lot of these people and kind of revisited what had happened and gave myself closure where I had never given myself closure. And it was very cathartic, and I'm really grateful that I did it, and I got to see things for the way they were, instead of holding on to these ideas that might not be really realistic. But we hold on to these concepts and ideas about people and the situations and the relationships that we have, and we put them on this shelf. And I kind of took it down and looked at it 11 years later, and looked at them and saw them for the way that they were and how far I've come. And it's been amazing, therapeutic. But I still feel like I'm holding on to something, and I couldn't quite figure out what it was. And then last night I was talking to a friend, and I was talking to my older sister simultaneously. Technology's so amazing. That way you can have multiple conversations at once. So I was talking to them, and I realized there was one last relationship that I hadn't really worked through. And it wasn't someone I was romantic with. It was somebody that was a really, really good friend. And I didn't realize I had feelings for them until it was way too late. And it was interesting that was who came up, because I started crying just even thinking about it when I had the epiphany of what it was and who it was. And I realized there's still so much pain around that relationship, and so many tears, and I've never really looked back at it, and I've never really addressed it, and I don't talk to people about it. I won't even mention this person's name because it's too painful. It's too painful to even look at. And I realized the relationships that I've had since then, he really was ultimately the first person that I really truly loved unconditionally. And there's a difference between loving people and loving them completely unconditionally. It's like knowing all of their flaws and everything that's really bad about them, and really truly loving them for who they were and accepting them for who they were. And I didn't realize there was still all that grieve around it. Like I was still grieving that relationship. Like I had never fully processed it, and I'd never given myself closure from it. And so my sister was like, well, maybe you should go and see them and really address that. And I just start crying. And I was just like, wow, I didn't realize how afraid I am to even look at it. Like it was scary just to think about.